Hello, 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 and welcome. It's episode 135 of the Rent to Rent Success podcast, and I am so excited about today's episode. Today, I'm joined by Ilva Pamovska. And Ilva, I've wanted to get on this show for years. I actually heard Ilva speak at Rent to Rent Live, and she was giving her story of how she ran her rent to rent business. And it was quite different to how we run ours. But I loved the way that Ilva runs her business. I love her philosophy for life. Ilva has so much love. You'll see that she just wants to provide exceptional service and value in everything she does, from the way she works with her team to the way she works with her landlords and her housemates. So Ilva started off as a waitress. She came to this country from overseas. English wasn't her first language. And she's really made this her thing. She's really made a success of it. She is an exceptional planner. She loves to plan. And I'm sure we'll talk about this much more as we go through this episode. And as I said, she is just totally focused on providing exceptional value. And what I didn't know about Ilva, which I found out recently, is that Ilva also is an acrylic painter and loves to do flowers. So, Ilva, welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, fantastic. I love the introduction. It was just amazing. Oh, Stephanie, you're really professional at what you do, definitely.
Well, thank you for coming on. And for those of you who can see us on video, you'll see we are both wearing green this morning. It looks like
Yay!
even the same shade of green. And you can see that on our website. It's renttorentsuccess.com/135 if you want to see the lovely Ilva and also me both wearing green. So, Ilva, we gave a little hint of your story there. You started off, you were working as a waitress, not in a cocktail bar. And so tell us, how did it go from there? Tell us about coming to the UK and what you were doing.
Oh yeah, the journey was actually quite for me who, loves everything to be planned and know what's going to happen next and everything. It was very unpredicted. I actually came to help my friend to look after her little one and for a school term. And I fell in love with London so much that I gave a notice at my day job back in Latvia and I moved to UK.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked in the like a breakfast a restaurant at Bond, so it's literally like a hotel and breakfasts for mostly for business clients and everything. So it was very low profile and very easy, I would say as well. So
Brilliant.
yeah, and from there I wasn't very well at planning my finances and everything, and um I did wanted to um live okay life and everything. So I decided that I do need to do something about my income and what I do and everything. So I started to look for some extra income possibilities. So what I did is I went to the estate agency from whom I was renting my studio, which later I learned was simply a garage without windows converted that illegally rented.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I needed a place to stay, and I also wanted my own sort of space. I was happy to share, but I wanted my because before I was living at my friend's couch, so I was happy to have a garage without windows.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I went to them, and they offered me on a weekends to do door to door leaflets for them, which I did and everything. And I started talking with some landlords and homeowners and everything. And then it kind of went well for them. So they invited me to work at their office. And then I saw what happens behind the curtains at the estate agencies with trying to get the properties from other agents, seeing the boards and trying to call the landlords, convince them to come with us. And it was so unethical for me. So I said, you know what, guys, I really, really don't need this. So I went on exploring what's happening. So I went on a lot of property networking events, and I actually signed up as one of the helpers. So I had the motivation to go every single month to the events and everything, and that's where I met all the people who actually helped me in my journey a lot. So that's how everything started for me.
I love it. So it just goes to show the power of networking, telling everybody what you do, but also hanging around with the right people.
Yeah, I was one of the helpers for about 2 years, so 2 years in a row. So yeah, and then they changed quite a lot of things, and we moved sort of outside Londonish. So yeah.
Brilliant. So you were motivated to start. You started property networking. You were meeting lots of people who were involved in property, and that is the same for lots of people, isn't it? They get to know about property, they see what's going on, but it's one thing knowing and it's another thing doing. So what was it that pushed you over to take that leap?
Um, I think it's just my personality as well. I do it together with my partner, and he is very big perfectionist, which is amazing because together we are absolutely amazing team, because he slows me down and get me to get things done in much better way, and I encourage him to let's just get it done. so so things get done. And yeah, I think it was just I'm just doing person in general. So I just, okay, what's the first step I need to do? Okay, ugly leaflets, handwritten leaflets, because we started by sourcing properties, by sourcing lease options and below market value properties for investors. And so that's what I did. I just, printed out a bunch of leaflets and went door to door. And then I had lots of calls. And then I went through the step by step questions and answers that I have learned through networking and some events and everything. And um and then I got invited to see the properties, and then I, you know seeing enough landlords, I met the right landlord who was ready, who really needed the help. So I managed to source this property for investor actually guided me through the whole process of everything. And after he completed on it as a lease option, he really needed to help someone to manage it to set it up as HMO, as to rent it out until he is ready to sell it. So this is where he offered me my next learning curve, and I did. So it was actually actually accidental. They call it accidental landlords. I was accidental renter. I think so. This is my first property for sure. Yeah.
I love that. It all comes through. You take the first action and other opportunities find you. So you took the first action. You were a property sourcer then. You were finding properties for investors for a below market value and lease options. And, one lucky investor there got that lease option. Then he asked you to, or she asked you to manage it. So tell us about that. What kind of property? Was that an HMO?
It wasn't an HMO. It was a family property that we converted in HMO. It was 4-bedroom property. So at that moment, we didn't have the HMO licensing for a 4-bed 2-story. So we still did all the fire safety, the fire doors, fire alarms, escape lights. So I think it just went all, learning by doing, by learning by doing, all in total. I took some knowledge from the rent to rent courses, and then just going through all of the fire regulations and everything. So and yeah, and it just, we sourced furniture, dressed up the property, posted an ads on spare room. At that time we also used Gumtree, which we don't use anymore. um Local shop windows, everything, got a people in. And um and that's where I learned most of my mistakes in the rent to rent. In
Yeah.
managing tenants, in managing actually with housekeepers and everything. We were really good, really blessed, and that was really good. And that was one of the reasons we knew that you know that the way I managed the tenants was not the most successful, because they I got too close friends with them, and they started to, not wash dishes, keep the property too untidy, complain about each other. And I just had to learn it all through how to deal with it and how to resolve it. And bit by bit. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing, and it went all very smooth. I mean, the actual, dressing up property, renting it, all the setting up all the tenancy agreements, deposit protection, all the bits and bits. It's I think one of the reasons I learned it so well, because I actually learned it by doing it and going through and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you you learned it first. You had the system to work you were
Yeah.
working to, and then of course it's like driving a car. You learn it. For most people, they have some sort of instruction, whether it's family or friend or somebody helps
Yeah.
them to learn it, but you never really get to master it or have it to become totally entirely second nature until you actually do it.
Yeah.
So I think there are levels of learning. There's theory learning, which is so helpful, and then there's what you learn when you do it, which is totally different.
Yeah. And I think I'm a bit of a, the person that I like to learn first thing, then do it. Second thing, do it. Third
Yes.
thing, do it. I don't like learning the whole thing and only then go and do it, because by the time I go and do it, I already forgot the whole thing. So I learn first and then go and do it, go and do it, go and do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to learn, and I think, in fact, I used to think I was more like that, but I actually do like to have a map of the whole picture,
Yeah.
but then just learn each part
Yeah.
as I go
Yeah.
along. Because so many people come to me and they say, "But what about when I've got 20 properties? How will I be able to manage them? Will I be able to?" And really get themselves
You won't be able to manage it by
overwhelmed.
yourself.
Get themselves overwhelmed by the end, when the first step is one property, which you will be able to manage. So, tell us. I'm just curious. This is just something. Why do you no longer go on Gumtree?
Um, it's actually a bit of a story. So I had an experience where I was doing viewings, because at the beginning, we were doing everything pretty much ourselves. At the moment, we have a team in place. So I was doing viewings at one of the property and in Tottenham, and we were so urgent to rent out the room and everything, and it was last minute booking through Gumtree, and I didn't even took the guy's last name or anything, just his name and phone number, and because I already had some other people coming, so I was there at the property. He came with a friend, and I was showing him a property. I didn't have a good vibe, and he did smell a bit of alcohol and everything. And I went into the bathroom, showing him bathroom. He came in the bathroom. He closed the door. His friend was outside the door, and I was blessed that there was actually another tenant at home. So I don't want to imagine what would have happened. So I actually started screaming, for help, and the tenant came out, and the two guys just run out of the property. And then, when I was thinking, do I need to contact police? What's going on? What should I do? I was in a shock, and I realized I had no contact details of the guy, nothing, just the name and the phone number, nothing whatsoever. So at the moment, we go through very strict questionnaire. All the information we take for the people who come to the viewings, just to protect all our girls who does our viewings and boys. So yeah, and we term not to use Gumtree anymore, because we find lower quality tenants
Yeah, yeah.
in London on Gumtree, so
Yeah.
we term not to use it anymore.
Yeah, wow. I'm so glad I asked that question, because there's all the different dimensions, aren't there, Ilva? And yeah, we find where we are as well, Gumtree is not great for tenants. It can be great for finding landlords, actually,
Oh yes.
but
Yeah.
not for the tenants. And that's another interesting, the pre-vetting. And I think these are some of the nuances that people may not realize if they didn't have that roadmap of what to do, that you obviously learn
Yeah.
after the fact. But so you got that first deal, and you were already out there as a sourcer. You were sourcing, you'd successfully sourced this property. You started managing it. But I'd love to know a little bit more, because one of the things that people really worry about is the startup costs. So for you, was there a lot of refurbishment involved on your side, or was it something that the landlord paid for, the owner?
Actually, the refurbishment costs, the property wasn't too tired, so we literally just repainted it, and it already had some furniture, so we needed to add some extra furniture. So it was I I think we actually, most of the cost was covered by investor. It was literally in 2013, so I'm going back in 2013 to remember the numbers. But it was, most of it was covered by investor. What we did cover was, dressing up the property so it looks nicer for the viewings and things like this. And we sourced some secondhand furniture, some nice furniture, but secondhand, so it's more affordable. So we sourced it, but landlord paid for it. So it was our time investment, and landlord invested most of the funds. But in terms of the dress up kits and everything, I think literally the turnaround to get the ball rolling was about 300-400 pounds on
Yes.
our side.
Yeah. You see, that is phenomenal. And this is something which, again, we didn't implement ourselves at the beginning. We used to put such a lot of money into the owner's properties. But now I see that so much more. Of course, landlords are willing to pay their property. They're actually delighted if we're going to manage some of the works and so on. And as you said, it's great for us just to have those dressings, which of course we can reuse. We do leave the pictures and things there, but some of it we can reuse and reuse. So that's great that you were able to start up, and on that for £400, and on that first one, Ilva, and it was quite a while ago. Can you remember the cash flow from that one?
Oh, the cash flow actually was quite good, because I remember paying my whole rent from that property. So I paid all my living costs, not the food and travel and everything, but the whole at that point I lived in the like ensuite sort of a room. So it would be in about 700
Mm,
ish
mm.
in between those
And the
times.
four bed is very good as well. That's great. And so let's just dig into it a little bit more, because you might think to yourself, well, being an investor, your investor, you sourced this lease option property for him, and then you guaranteeing the rent now. And so I just wonder, how were you able to get such a great rent when you're working with an investor?
Well, first of all, he was very, very generous, and he because we found a property for him,
Mm,
and then um, and yeah, and he gave us to manage it and set it up all on everything. So it was just, it all came, in as a flow, I would say. And I think we were really, really blessed as well. So and because his cost was really low as well
yeah.
on the property, because it's a lease option property and it didn't have a huge mortgage to pay. I If I remember from my side, his costs was about £500
Mhm.
in total after all the costs and everything. So yeah, because his costs was low, he was happy to give us that first push. So yeah, I think it was now when I look back, it was amazing deal, which
Yes.
we saw that it was a lease option,
Yeah.
and then yeah.
So if you can remember, or even if you can say, what was his rent? Can you remember that part? What you were paying him as rent?
We were actually, let me actually go through the numbers, because we were paying him, it was more of you know we agreed, the rent, then our costs, and then his. Let me see. So we were about
Yeah, it's. I'll just reflect while you're looking for that. What I
So
see so many times is it's really the development of that relationship between yourself and the landlord. So, on a logical looking at it, you're thinking, well, why would the landlord give this property to me as a new person? I know in this case, Ilva knew him before, but every single person who's who we see who's doing it in our Kickstarter program, they all meet the landlord for the first time, getting their first property and get their first property. So it is about those relationships. So, Ilva, did you find it?
yeah, so it's about 2,000 that we were paying to the landlord.
Wow, so that's amazing for him as well on
Yeah, it was.
a little four-bed property.
Yeah,
So I think all angles there. So that's what I mean as well, Ilva. And I know this is something that you really talk about. It's that it was a win. It was a big win
yeah.
on everybody, you, the owner, and the housemates. So we've talked about the refurb and the cash flow, and you've been doing this for a while, Ilva. And just give us a picture of you started off with this first property from there to where you are now.
Oh, wow. Well, we have had so much happening within the years. So we pretty much got our next property very, very soon after, and that property was very, very old and tired Victorian house. So we actually put quite, as you mentioned, we put I think about £5,000 in that one, and it was quite a while until we got some money back. And I think we grew within the first year. And then after the first year, I left my full-time employment because all of that I was doing, still working in the restaurant as a waitress. I left my employment, and we just then we kept going. Then we took on a portfolio of 12 properties in 1 month. So,
Wow.
and which was good and bad in the meantime. I don't know how to, but I it was my mistake because the business model, how they were, because they were rent to renters and he was moving back to France. So, um bless you. So yeah, and just their business structure was a bit different because they took a lot of admin fees from the tenants and things like that, and their tenant rate, rotation of the tenants was much more often than ours were.
Mm,
So they were making their income from those fees and everything a
mm,
lot, instead of our, we provide a great service to our tenants. Some of our tenants been, with us since 2014, and they are still with us. So we don't have that big tenant rotation, and our tenants stay with, and that's our vision, that our tenants stay with us long term. We don't charge any fees. We have never charged any fees. That was, I moved to UK and I was saying, what is this?
yeah.
All the fees just for me to be able to pick up the key. So I said I would never charge anything like that. And yeah, and then we took on those properties, and then we realized that we had to, change some structure for us to actually be able to make any money from it, because of the, guaranteed rent amounts and everything. So throughout few years we returned some of those properties, some of those we still have, and then we just gradually grew, and then again we came across to a portfolio of 35 properties, which
Um,
we kind of went for. But then at the very, very early stage, we realized that the landlord's values do not match our values.
yeah.
So we decided, here we go, we're gonna step out of this. And then again, it was just, our values are different. We manage our business really, really ethically, and we really want to um have tenants treated really well, and have landlords treated really well, and have that really exceptional experience, and have those really nice replies from landlords saying, oh, Ilva, thank you so much, you are the best. That's what feeds my soul. And and we stepped out of that, and then I went on Stephanie's mastermind and coaching, and that actually gave me a really big kick because I realized, I need to know where I want to go and everything. So since then, we've been gradually taking about one property a month. Maybe some months skipped or something, but it's been very, very gradual. And at the moment, as of today, I think if I check I don't even know how many. It's 32 properties that we look after at the moment.
That's phenomenal. I just want to commend you, Ilva, on everything you do. It just warms my heart when you speak about it, because you make such a brilliant business out of caring for people. And I think sometimes people think it's the of opposite, that if you don't care, you'll make more money. And you can make money in the short term by not caring, but not in the long term, because people won't come back to you and people will talk. Um, but when you do it the way that you're doing it, Ilva, it just grows and grows because the word spreads, and nowhere else can landlords get that service. Landlords do struggle. One of the good things for us is that landlords really struggle to get long-term, good, never mind exceptional, good HMO management from normal letting agents. And that's why they are prepared to work with individuals and small businesses. So, Ilva, we talked about your success growing to this size. I wanted to touch on the team, because when I heard you speak at the Rent to Rent Live, I was very intrigued, or I was very interested in the team that you have and the different way that you have it set up. So I'd love for you to tell us about how you're able to run this business of over 32 properties, mostly HMOs.
All, yeah, mostly HMOs. We have one single let, I think, but because the landlord has HMO, so
Mm,
he just gave a
mm,
single
mm,
let as well.
mm,
Yeah, so we have we have our property manager who actually been with us since 2013, since day one, because she was our housekeeper.
mm.
And we noticed a really amazing talent in her, and our Yolanta is really, really amazing, and she's been with us ever since. And she's our property manager, and she looks after most of the maintenance things, new property dress up, setup, and she is also a photographer, so she takes photos of our properties as well. And she has a great talent in restoring old furniture and things like that. So she has all those little amazing gems within her that she can realize through our company as well. And then we have a letting side where we have a person who looks after all the spare room, all the ads, messages, and everything, and books all the people in. And then we have two people who does viewings. So we have East London and North London because our properties are sort of spread across. And then we have bookkeeper, admin sort of person who looks after all the little admin bits, and so that I don't get too overwhelmed with everything. And just on the side as well, by meaning I don't get overwhelmed. I actually work about 3 hours a day on average. So I have two little absolutely amazing kids, and the reason I started Rent to Rent was to be able to have a family, and have a family with the view how I see it, when I actually can see my kids, be with them. And as long as you want, because we also have some older kids, like teenage, 13, 14, and they don't need that time anymore that often. They okay with just hanging out on a weekend. But those little ones, they do want that, all those afternoon clubs, and for us to be there and acknowledge them. That So yeah, so that's the reason I'm actually working 3 hours only on our Rent to Rent, on our HMO management business, and everything else is looked after the team. So I mostly look after the team and some communications with landlords and bits like that, and everything else is managed through our team and our management software. I think that's some really absolutely amazing help, because my husband has built it, because he has a really good IT knowledge. So, and it's built for our workflow rather than us adjusting our workflow, because of the management software that the software is actually built for our workflow. So everything is there. I can monitor everything, every single referencing, how far it is, every single property certificates when they're expiring, pretty much every single compliance is in there, every single letting side, marketing new properties. So I can just open that screen and see what's there, and if I see any flashing red that any certificate is expiring in 3 days and it's not uploaded yet, I can just pick up a call and see where we are on that. Or I can just go in our maintenance, and it's usually there should be a comment that it's booked for this and this date and everything. So yeah.
Wow, I love it. Because you've got property manager, you've got a person doing spare rooms, a person doing viewings, two people doing viewings, and an admin bookkeeper. And the interesting thing as well was you have them all part-time.
Yes, everyone is part-time. We have no one working full-time with us. Um, I just find that, well, Yolanta is the one working the most hours, but she's still part-time. So I just find it that when we get I could easily get one person for viewings full-time instead of two part-time. But then every single person in our team knows how to do everything else. They know maintenance, they know admin, uh, not the bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is just me who can cover, but everything else everyone else can do. So we can easily cover each other. And let's say when the lettings are really quiet, then Asam can step in and look after other sides and everything. So everyone is really, really flexible and very, very helpful on on what they do. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that because we have one full-time person, lots of contractors as well, and obviously we've got bookkeeper, we've got
Yeah.
accountant, we've got admin people. But on the property side, we've got one full-time person. And we then step in, so it would be nice to have. So I really like that idea of having more than one on a part-time basis and having that flow. So I was so interested to hear you talk about that the first time. So thank you for sharing it again. Now, Ilva, you've been super successful. You've come from, I was going to say nothing, but you always had that spark. You were a waitress and you came here and you didn't know the language as well. And, but you always had that spark. So I'd love you to tell me, why do you think you've been successful where, many people would like to do what you've done, but haven't started?
um Well, first of all, I'm a big believer that everything happens as it has to happen. So if someone else have started the journey and it didn't go as they wanted or anything, maybe it wasn't meant. Maybe their calling was something absolutely different. So it's sort of a, not a destiny thing, but yeah. And I think it's just really that well, when I was younger, I was selling door to door books in America, in Texas, and there I learned that the most hardest thing is knocking on that door. That's the most hardest thing. It's just taking that first step, getting to the door, and just knocking on it, because someone is now going to come and open it, but you have to do that first step. Do you have to knock on it for someone to actually open it? So it's literally everything is about just knocking on that door. And whatever is going to happen next, you're going to deal with it. Maybe yes, you're going to fail a few times and everything, but you're going to learn through. It's so natural within us humans is to adapt and learn and become better at what we do, but we just need to keep knocking on those doors.
Oh, what a perfect analogy. I can just see you standing there in America with your books. And, I can imagine as you're coming up to the door, especially at the beginning, maybe your heart's racing and you're standing on the door for a moment thinking, shall I knock the door? Especially if the previous door didn't go so well.
Yeah.
But it's the same, isn't it, in life and in business? You have to knock the door. And the next thing is that I love that you just said there is that you know that you can handle whatever's coming after that. Because whatever's coming after that is what we're afraid of. We're afraid that it's going to go wrong. We're going to look like a fool. We're not going to do it properly. And likely, all of those things are going to happen because at the beginning, we're not good at this.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's just giving yourself permission to be a beginner so that you can later be a master, and not expecting yourself to have that mastery on that very first door or the second door or the third door.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. And I think also, when you are in that mastery stage, you're still gonna make mistakes. Things are
Yes.
still gonna happen.
Yes.
And it's still okay. You just move on, go on and keep knocking on those doors. And I think it's just knowing where you're going. Like for me, I am not super duper like working 24 hours. Just, we could easily take on much more properties if I would just triple the time I'm in the business and the time I work. But I chose for this time being not to. And because of my different vision, we have a very slow but very steady growth. We still take on new property, we still increase our business income and cash flow pretty much every single month, but it's much slower. But there is, I have such a good friends, and their vision is completely different, and they work with the build to rent buildings. They manage the whole buildings and everything, and they take on hundreds of units every single new month. But it's their vision. So everyone has their own journey and everything. So yeah, don't let influenced by what. That's another sort of downside of networking events, that everyone talks about their success, how many properties they have, where they're going, that you can get sidetracked on what's your vision, where you are going and why you are doing that. So just stick to that. What is your vision? Why are you doing it? And maybe your goal is 5 properties, and just to remove yourself from your day job, and 5 properties you can manage part-time and do your acrylic paintings for the rest.
Yes. Oh my goodness, you're just dropping the gold today, because because life is about the freedom to create the life you want, the freedom to have that beautiful family and be in it the way that you want to be in it, but also have this business and creative outlet as well, where you're providing an exceptional service on that side. So for you, the money is providing the fuel that allows you to live this perfect life. Not perfect, but the life you love and the life you want. And I was just actually thinking as you were talking there, 32 properties. Now I know they're not all going to be £700 a month profit, or cash flow rather, and you have got costs in your business now, but I just did 700 times 32 times 12. So it's £269,000 a month, sorry, a year, and over £250,000. And it's really incredible what you can grow from this type of a business. So, Ilva, is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe I haven't asked you about today, that you'd like to let people know about?
Mm, no, not really. I think it's just, if you're a person that really cares about people and that really cares about doing the things right way, I I'm a rule book person. Even at school, I was saying of my classmates, do not do that, because that's in a rule book says not doing that. So I wasn't the most popular girl in my class because I liked going by the rules. However, it has brought me amazing success in rent to rent because I love going by the rules. And if you're the person that don't love the rules, you have to fall in love with all the rules, all the compliance and everything, because that's just really, really, really essential in this business. So definitely always go by the rules.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I would think if you're a person who doesn't like following the rules or doesn't like the detail, then you need to bring that into your business and have an
Yeah.
administrator or somebody in your business who does love the rules, who wants to dot the I's and cross the T's. For me, that was that was Nikki. I'm definitely not that person. I'm more the visionary. I still want to get it right and make sure that our business delivers, but I don't want to be the person who does that and has to talk to the council.
Oh, yeah, I love talking to the council.
You love talking to the
Yeah,
council.
yeah.
Yeah.
I yesterday, not yes, last week, I had a with our new property. We had a meeting with the council, so I loved it.
Yeah. Strange woman. No, it's good. I'm not surprised that you love it. And I want to point people to an incredible resource that that Ilva has. You must go there, primepropertycare.com/blog. Now, I just went there just a moment ago before we started recording, and I saw it was the Ultimate Insider HMO setup checklist. And there's so many articles and information on there. And it also has details of how to contact Ilva. And you've got a Facebook, Ilva.
Yeah, I'm not
Il-
there very often, so please try not to contact me there.
you've got
I'm
you want
extremely rarely there. Definitely, if anyone would like to contact me through the website, is the quickest because that goes straight away notification on my phone as well. Um, Social media, you might wait for a few weeks until I get back. LinkedIn,
well,
actually, LinkedIn might be a good place. I might be, it might be just 1 week delay, but everything else is a
okay. So go to primepropertycare.com/blog if you want to contact Ilva. And you can follow Ilva's progress on Facebook, Prime Property Care, and also on Instagram, she's Ilva Pam, and on LinkedIn, she's Ilva Pamovska. And I know that listening to this, you're going to fall in love with Ilva as much as me. And just wish you had properties to give to you.
Oh, oh, don't worry, we don't struggle with that, so that's all right.
I know. Actually, I didn't even ask you. How do you find your properties now?
Um, well, I think we have built a really incredible source of contacts through networking because we literally attended every single networking event, and I can see all of those investors still are around and everything. So definitely networking is one of the sources because through there we get a lot of recommendations. Our website is another really good source of our landlords, and a LinkedIn as well. So I do get approached by many landlords, and I approach landlords myself on LinkedIn, and property developers as well. So yeah, so it's
What was
those
the
are the
last one? What was the last one?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Oh, right. Okay. Okay. And are you posting regularly, Ilva, on LinkedIn?
I am trying to post very regularly. I post at least once a week. Yeah, I do. Not every day. I'm mostly building my LinkedIn because I have a very big contact base on LinkedIn, a lot of property developers and everything. So I do approach people personally and create meaningful conversations. So that's more of my time investment rather than a posting.
I'm intrigued now. So, what does it mean, a meaningful conversation? So, if you're going to contact a property developer, um, what's a meaningful conversation? What do you say?
So let's say if I would going to contact property developer, I would actually go and see who they are, what they do, and what's been their latest updates on their LinkedIn, on what projects they've been working, and I would approach them on that I would complement what they do, ask any questions if I had about their projects, and I would let them know that we manage HMO properties and provide a guaranteed rent service, and if this would be anything they would benefit from, or if they had any questions. And then from there, some people have questions. A lot of people are at the moment looking for actually buying new HMO properties. So then I would guide them towards some sources that I can suggest, and things like that. And then the conversation would start. How are the things doing? How is the HMO market and everything? And yeah, and that's where we start building the relationships through the conversations.
Amazing. So many great tips there, but I think the main one is just knock that door.
Yeah, just knock that door. Exactly. Just
Just
knock on
knock
the door,
that
which is
door.
the hardest.
Yeah, take the very next step in front of you. That's going to take you towards success. And if you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to get the full Rent to Rent Success Guide and Masterclass that we have free, go to rent2rentsuccess.com/guide, GUIDE. And also, do go over to Prime Property Care/blog, pick up that ultimate HMO checklist of Ilva's, among many blog posts that are there with everything you could possibly want to know about HMOs. So I want to thank you, Ilva Pamovska, for coming on the show and just being a ray of gorgeous green light.
Oh, thank you so much. We both are, definitely.
And I want to thank you for watching and for listening and for joining us here every week. It's such a thrill and a pleasure to have you along. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask, you can go to rent2rentsuccess.com/ask and record your questions for me to answer in the Friday episodes. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.